What if the thing you are waiting for is not ahead of you, but already finished? What if the life you desire is not being built piece by piece, but exists in its entirety, waiting only for your acceptance? This is not a message of hope for the future. It is a declaration of truth in the present. Creation is complete. Nothing is missing. Nothing is unfinished. The only movement required is not in the world, but within you. Every desire you hold arises from fulfillment, not from lack. You would not feel the pull towards something unless it already existed in a form you are capable of receiving. Desire is not a sign of absence. It is evidence of readiness. The moment the desire appeared in your awareness, its completion was already established. Your role is not to make it happen, but to allow it to enter your experience. The outer world is not the source of your life. It is the reflection of your inner state. What you consistently assume to be true about yourself, about life, and about possibility hardens into fact. Circumstances do not have creative power. They are rearranged shadows responding to the inner position you occupy. When you change your assumption, the world has no choice but to follow. Time is often misunderstood as the creator, but time creates nothing. It merely reveals what has already been accepted. The delay you perceive is not proof that something is missing. It is an invitation to look within and ask whether you have truly allowed yourself to receive. Acceptance is the moment creation becomes visible. When you internally consent to the reality of fulfillment, time collapses and the bridge of events forms naturally. Feeling is the language through which reality is impressed, not emotion, but the quiet, settled knowing that something is done. When you feel from the end, when you rest in the inner atmosphere of completion, you are no longer trying to get, you are simply being. From that state, effort dissolves, struggle fades, and life begins to cooperate in ways that feel almost effortless. Resistance does not stop fulfillment, it only delays recognition. The world is already moving. Doors are already opening. People, opportunities, and circumstances are already aligning. Your task is to release the need to control the how and the when, and instead occupy the certainty of the now. When you stop questioning whether it will happen and begin knowing that it is happening, the shift is immediate. So stand in the calm confidence of completion. Walk, speak, and think as one who knows the work is done. You are not waiting for life to change. Life is waiting for you to agree. It is already complete. Now it is entering your world. Realization is finished. And this truth changes everything the moment it is understood. What you call a desire is not something being formed or created in the future. It is evidence of something that already exists in its complete and perfect form. Nothing comes into your awareness unfinished. The very fact that you can imagine a fulfilled state means that it already has reality beyond the limits of your senses. Desire is not a request to the universe, nor is it a sign that something is missing. It is an invitation to recognize what is already yours. Most people believe they must struggle, work, or wait for time to shape their dreams into form. Yet time creates nothing. Time merely reveals what has already been accepted internally. When you hold the assumption that fulfillment is distant, life mirrors that belief through delay. But when you accept that creation is complete, waiting dissolves. You stop asking when and begin resting in the certainty that it is done. This inner shift removes the pressure to force outcomes and replaces it with quiet confidence. The outer world has never been the source of your success, happiness, or abundance. It is only the stage upon which your inner convictions are displayed. What you persistently assume to be true about yourself becomes visible through circumstances, people, and events. If the desire exists within you, then the completed version of it must also exist. You are not meant to create it, chase it, or earn it. You are meant to align with it. Alignment does not require effort, it requires acceptance. The moment you internally agree that your desire is already fulfilled, your role changes from seeking to allowing. You begin to feel differently, think differently, and respond to life from a place of certainty rather than hope. This feeling of completion is not excitement or emotion, but a calm knowing. It is the sense of relief that comes when you realize there is nothing left to do. Doubt may arise, not because fulfillment is uncertain, but because old assumptions are dissolving. When the mind resists this truth, it is only reacting to unfamiliar freedom. Persistence in the assumption of completion gently reshapes your inner world, and the outer world must follow. Circumstances reorganize naturally, without strain or force, to reflect the state you now occupy. Understand this clearly. You are not waiting for creation to happen. Creation has already happened. What appears as delay is simply the interval between recognition and manifestation. When you accept that your desire exists now in its fulfilled form, you step out of struggle and into alignment. From that state, life moves effortlessly, and what was once imagined becomes visibly real, right on time. What you assume as true within determines what appears without, whether you are aware of it or not. Life is not responding to your wishes, your words, or even your actions as much as it is responding to your deepest assumptions. These assumptions are the quiet agreements you make with yourself about who you are, what is possible, and what you can expect from the world. Once accepted, they operate automatically, shaping your experiences with precision and consistency. An assumption is not something you occasionally think about. It is something you live from. It is the inner position you return to when no one is watching. If you assume that life is difficult, circumstances will repeatedly confirm struggle. If you assume that opportunities are scarce, doors will appear closed. The world does not argue with your assumptions, it reflects them faithfully. This is not punishment or reward, it is simply alignment. The inner world is the cause, and the outer world is the effect. Trying to change appearances without changing assumptions is like attempting to alter reflection without touching the mirror. You may adjust your behavior, surroundings, or strategies, but if the inner belief remains unchanged, the same patterns will reappear in new forms. True transformation begins when the assumption itself shifts. When you consciously choose an assumption, you are choosing a future experience. To assume something as true is to feel it as real now, even before any physical evidence appears. This does not require blind optimism or forced belief, it requires acceptance. The moment you accept an idea as natural and normal, it begins to externalize. Life reorganizes, subtly at first through thoughts, impulses, conversations, and coincidences, until the assumption becomes visible fact. Many people wait for proof before they allow themselves to believe, but proof always follows belief, never the other way around. The world must reflect your inner agreement, but it can only do so after that agreement is made. When you assume from the end, feeling inwardly as though the desire is already fulfilled, you step into a state that the outer world must eventually match. Resistance often arises because old assumptions feel familiar, even when they are limiting. Releasing them can feel like stepping into the unknown, yet the unknown is only unfamiliar, not unsafe. As you persist in a new assumption, it stabilizes and the world adjusts accordingly. People change, situations shift, and opportunities appear without effort or force. Understand that nothing outside you has independent power. Circumstances, history, and conditions are not deciding your life. They are responding to your inner stance. When you change what you assume to be true within, you change the script life must follow. The outer world has no choice but to echo your inner conviction, because it always has and always will. Time does not create, acceptance does. This truth dissolves the belief that waiting longer will somehow bring fulfillment closer. Time itself is neutral. It has no power to shape your life or produce outcomes. It merely provides a sequence through which what is already accepted becomes visible. When you believe that time is the cause, you place your power outside yourself and unknowingly agree to delay. But when you understand that acceptance is the true creative force, you reclaim authorship over your experience. Most people spend their lives waiting for the right moment, the right conditions, or the right timing. They believe that if enough time passes, circumstances will change on their own. Yet nothing truly changes until there is an inner shift. You may wait years for something to happen, but if you have not accepted it internally, time will only extend the waiting. Delay is not caused by lack of time, it is caused by lack of acceptance. Acceptance is not passive resignation. It is a conscious inner agreement that something is already true. The moment you accept a fulfilled state as natural, your relationship with life changes. You stop striving and start allowing. You no longer look to the future with hope or doubt, but rest in the quiet certainty of now. This inner consent is what sets everything in motion. When acceptance occurs, the mind and emotions align with the new reality. Thoughts begin to shift effortlessly, reactions soften, and expectations change. From this new inner position, your actions become inspired rather than forced. You may be guided to speak to someone, move in a certain direction, or make a decision that feels natural rather than strategic. These are not random actions. They are the bridge through which acceptance expresses itself in form. People often ask how long manifestation takes. But the better question is how long it takes to accept. The moment acceptance is complete, the experience is inevitable. Time may still be involved in the unfolding, but it no longer feels like waiting. It feels like confirmation. What once seemed distant begins to approach naturally, without effort or struggle. Resistance to acceptance usually comes from attachment to old identities or past experiences. Letting go can feel like losing control, when in truth it is gaining freedom. When you release the need for proof and choose acceptance first, you step out of limitation and into alignment. Life responds not to your impatience, but to your inner agreement. Understand this deeply. Time is only the stage, not the actor. Acceptance is the decision that gives the script meaning. When you stop waiting for time to change your life and instead accept fulfillment now, you remove the only barrier that ever existed. Creation does not happen with time. It happens the moment you agree. Feeling is the bridge between the unseen and the seen, the invisible link that carries an idea from imagination into lived experience. Thoughts alone do not shape reality, nor do words spoken without conviction. It is the feeling that gives life to an inner assumption and signals its reality. Feeling is not emotion in its dramatic sense. It is the subtle, inward sense of knowing that something is true. When you feel a state as real, it begins to take form. The unseen realm is where every possibility already exists. It is the space of imagination, assumption, and inner awareness. Yet possibilities remain dormant until they are energized by feeling. Feeling is what impresses an idea upon consciousness. It is the moment you move from thinking about a desire to experiencing it inwardly. Without feeling, an idea remains distant. With feeling, it becomes intimate and alive. When you enter the feeling of fulfillment, you are no longer waiting for proof. You are occupying the state that naturally produces the proof. This inner experience changes your posture toward life. Your reactions soften, your expectations shift, and your behavior subtly aligns with the reality you have accepted. You begin to live as the person who already has, rather than the person who hopes to receive. This is how the bridge forms, quietly, naturally, without force. Many people try to force emotion, believing intensity creates results. But forced emotion often carries tension and doubt. True feeling is calm, stable, and effortless. It is the relief of knowing, the peace of completion. It does not demand attention. It simply exists. When this feeling becomes familiar, it anchors the unseen state into your awareness, making it inevitable in the outer world. Feeling also determines how long something takes to appear. When the feeling of fulfillment is inconsistent, the bridge feels unstable. You move back and forth between knowing and doubting. But when the feeling becomes natural, when it feels like the normal state of being, the bridge solidifies. Life then arranges itself to match what you are consistently feeling to be true. The outer world cannot respond to wishes or affirmations spoken without feeling. It responds to the inner atmosphere you live in. That atmosphere is defined by feeling. If you feel valued, life reflects value. If you feel secure, life mirrors stability. The world is not responding to your effort, but to your inner state. Understand that feeling is not something you wait for circumstances to provide. It is something you choose internally. When you deliberately feel from the end, you step onto the bridge between the unseen and the seen. From there, manifestation is not something you chase. It is something that follows. The unseen becomes visible because feeling has already made it real. Resistance delays nothing except your recognition. What you are seeking is not being held back, postponed, or denied. It already exists in its complete form. Resistance does not stop fulfillment from unfolding. It only keeps you from seeing and receiving what is already prepared. The delay you experience is not in the movement of life, but in your awareness of what life is already offering. Resistance often appears as doubt, overthinking, fear, or the need for constant reassurance. It is the inner argument against acceptance. When the mind questions how, when, or whether something will happen, it shifts attention away from completion and back into lack. Yet nothing is actually interrupted. Life continues to organize itself according to your deeper assumptions, even while the conscious mind resists. The only thing resistance affects is your sense of peace and certainty. Many believe that struggle is necessary, that effort proves worthiness, and that resistance somehow protects them from disappointment. In truth, resistance only prolongs confusion. It keeps you focused on appearances instead of reality. The moment resistance is released, clarity returns. You do not make something happen by letting go. You simply allow yourself to notice what has already been forming. Recognition is the key moment when fulfillment becomes obvious. It is the shift from seeking to seeing. Resistance delays this recognition, by keeping attention fixed on what seems absent rather than what is present in unseen form. When you resist, you remain mentally positioned as someone waiting. When resistance dissolves, you step into the position of someone receiving. Resistance often comes from attachment to old identities. If you have long defined yourself by struggle, uncertainty, or lack, fulfillment can feel unfamiliar or even unsafe. Letting go of resistance means letting go of who you thought you had to be. This can feel unsettling, but it is also liberating. The discomfort is not a sign of loss, it is a sign of expansion. Nothing outside of you needs to change before you release resistance. Waiting for circumstances to improve before you relax only reinforces delay. When you allow yourself to soften now, life responds naturally. Opportunities become noticeable, conversations take on new meaning, and paths that were always present become visible. What changed was not the world, but your readiness to recognize it. Understand this deeply. Resistance has never protected you, and it has never stopped creation. It has only kept you distracted. When you stop fighting, questioning, or bracing against possibility, recognition happens effortlessly. You realize that fulfillment was never far away. It was simply waiting for you to stop arguing with it. When resistance ends, recognition begins, and what was once unseen steps naturally into view. When you align your inner state, reality rearranges itself effortlessly, because the outer world is always responding to the position you occupy within. Alignment is not about forcing positive thoughts or controlling emotions. It is about settling into a state that feels natural, true, and complete. When your inner world is coherent, when your thoughts, feelings, and assumptions point in the same direction, life reflects that coherence without struggle. Most effort comes from inner contradiction. You may desire one outcome while assuming another is more likely. You may speak words of confidence while feeling uncertainty underneath. This inner conflict creates friction, and that friction is mirrored as obstacles, delays, and confusion in the outer world. When alignment occurs, that friction disappears. There is no resistance within, so there is nothing for life to push against. Alignment begins with identity. Who you believe yourself to be determines how you interpret and respond to everything. When you internally accept a fulfilled state as your new normal, your reactions change automatically. You stop chasing confirmation because you already feel confirmed. From this place, actions arise naturally. You are guided rather than driven. Decisions feel obvious instead of stressful. This is not effortlessness born from inaction, but from inner clarity. The ability to connect with ourselves. Reality rearranges itself through subtle shifts rather than dramatic force. People may respond to you differently. Opportunities that once seemed inaccessible appear without explanation. Timing improves. You find yourself in the right place at the right moment, not because you planned perfectly, but because your inner state is synchronized with your experience. Life always seeks balance, and when your inner world stabilizes, the outer world follows suit. Trying to control outcomes often signals misalignment. Control comes from doubt, from the belief that without constant management, things will fall apart. Alignment removes this fear. When you trust your inner state, you stop micromanaging life. You allow events to unfold, knowing they are responding to something already settled within you. This trust is what makes the process feel effortless. Effortlessness does not mean instant perfection. It means ease in the unfolding. Even challenges, when they arise, no longer feel like obstacles. They feel like movements within a larger flow. You meet them with calm rather than resistance, knowing they are temporary expressions adjusting to your new inner position. The struggle disappears because you are no longer arguing with what is happening. Understand that alignment is always available now. You do not need to wait for external validation to feel complete. The moment you choose an inner state and remain faithful to it, reality begins its quiet reorganization. When your inner state is aligned, life does not need to be forced. It responds naturally, smoothly, and inevitably, rearranging itself to reflect the truth you have already accepted within. As we come to the close of this message, remember this truth above all else. Nothing you desire is missing, delayed, or unfinished. Creation is complete. What you assume within, accept as true, feel as real, and allow without resistance becomes the reality you experience. Time does not create your life. Your inner agreement does. Feeling builds the bridge, alignment removes effort, and recognition reveals what was always prepared for you. When you stop trying to make life happen and instead rest in the certainty of fulfillment, the world responds naturally. Reality has always been listening to who you believe yourself to be. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your willingness to receive. God is already working behind the scenes in ways far greater than your current senses can comprehend. The moment you dared to believe that something better was possible, the entire universe began shifting itself to match the truth you claimed within. Your desire was never random. It was a whisper from the divine, a message that something magnificent was already prepared for you, waiting only for your inner consent. What you feel as longing is actually a spiritual announcement that what you seek is seeking you. Every great movement of God begins in silence, in the unseen, long before it ever reaches the outer world. Too many look for evidence in physical reality, forgetting that the physical is always the final manifestation, never the origin. Your feelings, your assumptions, your inner conversations, these are the sacred tools through which God moves. If you can hold the end in your mind with calm conviction, the outer world will bow to that inner certainty. The big things you're waiting for are not outside of you. They are unfolding because of you. Develop a personal mindset. When nothing seems to be happening, that is often when the greatest work is taking place. The seed does not show its growth while in the soil. The roots form long before the fruit appears. This is the exact process occurring in your life right now. What feels like stillness is actually divine rearrangement. People are being positioned, doors are being aligned, circumstances are being reconfigured. What once felt impossible is quietly becoming inevitable. Your faith is not meant to be a reaction to what you see. It is meant to be the cause of what you will soon see. When you persist in the assumption that things are moving in your favor, you make it unavoidable for life to reflect that truth back to you. Even when the outer world contradicts your belief, even when everything appears unchanged, remain loyal to the inner picture. That inner loyalty is what moves the heavens. That inner conviction is what makes God remove barriers, shift timelines, and alter outcomes on your behalf. Do not measure your progress by what the senses reveal. Your senses can only show you what has already been formed, not what is forming. The unseen is where the miracle starts. Every answered prayer begins as a quiet inner knowing, a subtle feeling that something has already shifted. When you feel that inner completion, the outer world has no choice but to follow. So keep believing, keep knowing, keep seeing the end in your mind as already fulfilled. God is moving big things, things beyond your imagination, things that will make you wonder how it all came together so perfectly. Your only job is to remain faithful to the vision, to the feeling, to the inner victory. Everything else is being taken care of for you. Your miracle is not approaching, it is unfolding. Your blessing is not on its way, it is being arranged. And the moment you fully accept this truth within, the world will reshape itself to prove you right. Keep believing, because the divine shift has already begun in your favor. What you assume as true becomes the very channel through which God moves, shaping your reality with a precision that mirrors the state of your inner conviction. Every assumption is a seed planted in the invisible, and like any seed, it grows according to its nature. When you hold an assumption with feeling, with acceptance, with a quiet certainty that it already belongs to you, you open a spiritual pathway that allows the divine to work effortlessly on your behalf. You are never waiting for life to change. Life is waiting for you to take a stand in your inner world. The assumption you choose, whether of abundance, love, healing, success, or breakthrough, becomes the mold into which God pours the events, circumstances, and opportunities that align with it. Many believe that external conditions determine their fate, but in truth, it is the inner acceptance that dictates what follows. Every transformation begins by claiming a new identity inwardly. When you assume that you are already the person who has received their desire, you shift from hoping to knowing, from wishing to possessing. And this inner shift is the true signal. This is the language God responds to. Not fear, not doubt, not desperation, but the quiet confidence that the end is already secured. Your assumption becomes the bridge between the invisible and the visible, and once it is firmly held, the outer world has no choice but to rearrange itself to match it. Assumptions are powerful because they bypass willpower and effort. They work in silence, they work in the background, they influence every thought you think, every action you take, every decision you make, and every opportunity that flows toward you. When you assume the best, you tune yourself to the frequency where divine movement becomes natural and effortless. You stop chasing and begin attracting. You stop forcing and begin allowing. You stop pleading with God and begin aligning with Him. For God does not respond to frantic effort. He responds to faith-filled acceptance. And acceptance is nothing more than the assumption that what you desire has already been given. The moment you choose a new assumption, the unseen begins to shift. People start showing up, conversations unfold, coincidences align, and doors open that you didn't even know existed. This is not random. It is the divine acting through the channel you created. God needs your cooperation, but not in the form of struggle or strain. He needs your alignment. He needs your inner consent. And that consent is given through the assumption that it is already done. As you persist in that state, no matter what the senses report, you strengthen the channel and make the outcome inevitable. Your assumption is the cause, your experience is the effect. Whatever you hold as true, even if only in imagination, will eventually harden into fact. God moves through your belief, your acceptance, your inner reality. So choose your assumptions with intention. Choose the ones that honor your worth, your potential, your purpose. For the moment you assume the truth of your desire, you invite God to move in ways that elevate, transform, and bless every area of your life. Your inner acceptance is the signal that activates divine rearrangement, the quiet permission you give to life for the unseen to become seen. Nothing in the outer world can change until it is first accepted within. Every desire, every longing, every vision you carry begins as a subtle thought, a feeling, a conviction that has yet to find its form in the material world. When you fully accept the reality of what you wish for within, you are effectively sending a signal to the universe that it is time for the outer world to catch up. This acceptance is not passive, it is not wishful thinking or blind hope. It is the deliberate acknowledgement that what you seek is already yours, that the circumstances aligning in your favor are already in motion, and that the delay you perceive is simply the unseen work being completed on your behalf. Many people struggle because they seek evidence before they believe. They look to the outer world and say, I cannot see it, so it cannot be true. This is the opposite of the principle at work. The outer world is always a reflection of the inner state. Until you allow yourself to accept what is already yours in consciousness, the world cannot rearrange itself. Inner acceptance is the green light for divine intervention, the signal that allows life to move, shift, and transform in perfect accordance with your desires. The moment you embrace your wish as already fulfilled, you initiate a chain of unseen events that are perfectly synchronized to bring the vision into reality. This is how miracles are orchestrated, silently, invisibly, yet with absolute certainty. Acceptance is not resignation. It is not a surrender to impossibility. It is the confident recognition that the desired outcome exists now in the spiritual realm, and that it is only a matter of time before it manifests materially. By holding this acceptance, you are aligning yourself with the flow of life, creating a resonance that attracts circumstances, people, and opportunities that match the state you have assumed. This inner state communicates to the universe that you are ready, that you are prepared, and that you are in harmony with the end result. Once this signal is sent, life responds in kind. Situations that seemed fixed begin to shift, solutions appear where none existed, and pathways open that you could not have imagined. This is the divine rearrangement in action, the world bending to match the consciousness you have adopted. The beauty of this principle is that it works quietly, without fanfare or struggle. You do not need to force outcomes, manipulate events, or convince others. All that is required is your inner consent, your willingness to believe without seeing. Every time you dwell in the feeling of acceptance, you strengthen the invisible current that shapes your destiny. The circumstances around you may remain unchanged for a while, but within, the rearrangement is already underway. Trust the process, for the unseen always precedes the seen. Your inner acceptance is the signal, the command, and the declaration that makes the outer world bow to the vision you have embraced. When you cultivate this inner state consistently, life has no choice but to respond, and the perfect manifestation of your desire unfolds effortlessly and beautifully. The unseen shifts always come before the visible breakthroughs, for the outer world is never the origin of change. It is merely the reflection of what has already been established within. Before a mountain moves, before a door opens, before a breakthrough becomes apparent, the invisible groundwork is laid. This is the principle that governs every transformation, every answered prayer, and every miracle in life. What you see as delay or inaction is in truth the careful orchestration of forces beyond the senses. aligning, arranging, and preparing circumstances so that when the breakthrough arrives, it arrives fully formed, perfectly timed, and unmistakably yours. Nothing happens randomly, and nothing manifests without first existing in the unseen realm of consciousness. The invisible realm is where belief, feeling, and imagination act as architects, constructing the reality that will eventually appear. Every thought, every inner assumption, every feeling of faith is a signal sent into this unseen domain where divine intelligence responds by shaping outcomes in perfect harmony with your state of mind. When you imagine a reality as already complete, when you dwell in the feeling of having what you desire, you are initiating the unseen shifts that will inevitably lead to the visible manifestation. This is why inner work, mental, emotional, and spiritual alignment is far more powerful than any outward effort. The unseen always precedes the seen, and without it, the breakthrough cannot arrive. Many give up too soon because they mistake the lack of visible evidence for failure. They forget that the unseen is always working, often in ways that are completely imperceptible at the moment. Seeds buried in the soil do not sprout instantly. Roots must form, nutrients must gather, and growth must occur beneath the surface before any green shoot emerges. Similarly, your desires are taking root invisibly, aligning circumstances, attracting people, and orchestrating events in the background. This invisible preparation is not wasted time. It is essential for the breakthrough that appears without sufficient unseen alignment is often incomplete, fleeting, or unstable. True manifestation is born from thorough, unseen work, executed in silence, guided by faith, and sustained by the inner conviction that the desired outcome already exists. To accelerate the manifestation, you must cultivate patience and inner assurance. Focus not on what is visible, but on what is real in the mind and heart. Maintain the feeling of fulfillment, the sense of completion, and the unwavering belief that the breakthrough is already achieved. When you hold this inner state consistently, you strengthen the invisible currents that shape your reality. The universe responds not to your doubts, your fears, or your urgencies, but to the steady, unwavering acceptance of what you wish to see. The unseen shifts, working quietly and purposefully, set the stage for the outer world to bend in accordance with your inner reality. Understand that every visible miracle, every sudden change, and every breakthrough is preceded by unseen movement. The universe is constantly arranging, realigning, and orchestrating to bring the inner state into expression. Your job is to remain aligned, to nurture the belief, to hold the vision, and to trust the invisible process. When you do, the moment arrives when the unseen shifts crystallize into the visible, and your breakthrough appears exactly as it was imagined, perfectly timed and profoundly satisfying. Patience and inner alignment are not just virtues. They are the keys to allowing the unseen to do its divine work before the visible emerges. Your faith is the permission slip that allows big things to form in your favor, the silent declaration that opens the door for divine orchestration to occur on your behalf. Without faith, the universe waits, for it responds not to hesitation, doubt, or uncertainty, but to the unwavering belief that what you desire is already yours. Faith is not a mere hope or wish. It is the inner knowing that the outcome you seek exists now in the spiritual realm and is only waiting for you to align with it in consciousness. When you exercise faith, you are effectively giving the universe the green light to move, rearrange, and manifest circumstances that serve your highest good. It is the key that unlocks unseen doors, the force that mobilizes opportunities, and the signal that what you have imagined is already in motion, waiting to appear. Many people struggle because they look for visible proof before they act or believe. They say, "I will believe when I see it," not realizing that faith is the very mechanism that makes it visible. The outer world cannot precede the inner state. It cannot manifest something that has not already been accepted within. Your faith is therefore not passive. It is the active consent that life requires in order to deliver. It is the declaration that you are ready to receive, ready to embody, and ready to walk into the blessings that are already being prepared for you. Every great achievement, every miracle, every extraordinary shift in life begins with this inner alignment, with the steady, unwavering conviction that the desired outcome exists now, even if the senses cannot yet detect it. Faith also changes the way you move through the world. It aligns your thoughts, words, and actions with the reality you desire, creating a resonance that attracts circumstances and people in harmony with that reality. When you act with faith, you are no longer pushing against life or forcing outcomes. You are allowing life to respond to the state you have assumed. Doors open effortlessly, guidance appears in unexpected ways, and challenges dissolve before they manifest fully, because the energy of faith is shaping the environment around you. It is as if the universe itself responds to the quiet authority of your belief, bending, shifting, and arranging itself to match the inner state you have cultivated. Faith also sustains you during the waiting period. The timing of divine movement is never coincidental. It unfolds when conditions are perfectly aligned for the highest good. During this period, doubt and impatience can undermine your progress, while faith fortifies your position. By maintaining unwavering belief, you keep the channel open for miracles, breakthroughs, and abundance to flow effortlessly toward you. It is faith that transforms delay into preparation, obstacles into opportunities, and uncertainty into a fertile ground for manifestation. Faith is the permission slip you give to life, a declaration that you are ready, deserving, and aligned with the outcome you seek. It signals the universe that you are prepared to receive, and in response, big things begin to form in your favor. Faith is the silent, powerful command that sets the divine machinery in motion, ensuring that everything is arranged perfectly, invisibly, and inevitably until your desired reality appears in its full, magnificent expression. But delay is never denial. It is the preparation of circumstances aligning perfectly for you, the unseen orchestration that sets the stage for your desires to manifest in the most complete and powerful way. Many misunderstand delay as a sign that their dreams will never come true, that life is against them, or that the universe has forgotten them. In truth, delay is the silent work happening behind the scenes, where the unseen forces of life are arranging everything in precise order. What appears as waiting is in reality divine timing at work, ensuring that when your breakthrough occurs, it arrives fully formed, stable, and in perfect alignment with your highest good. Every delay is purposeful, designed not to frustrate you, but to prepare the outer world to reflect the inner reality you have claimed. When you desire something deeply, your mind often wants immediate evidence, yet The physical manifestation of your desire cannot leap ahead of the inner state that creates it. The unseen must first move. Conditions must align, circumstances must adjust, opportunities must be placed, and people must come into position. All of this takes time, not because you are being denied, but because life is carefully constructing the environment that will perfectly accommodate your vision. Impatience disrupts this process. Faith sustains it. By remaining aligned with your inner knowing, by holding the vision as already fulfilled, you allow the preparation to unfold without resistance, ensuring that the manifestation is not only inevitable, but effortless and complete. Delay also serves as an opportunity for refinement. During periods of waiting, your beliefs, attitudes, and inner assumptions are tested. Are you willing to remain steadfast in your inner conviction, even when the outer world seems contrary? Are you able to persist in the feeling of fulfillment, even when proof is not yet visible? These moments of apparent delay are designed to strengthen your faith, to deepen your alignment, and to perfect the inner state that will ultimately attract the desired outcome. The universe waits for you to reach this alignment because the outer world cannot manifest what your inner consciousness is not fully prepared to accept. Delay is, therefore, not a punishment or a setback. It is a vital part of the creative process. Delay often works in ways that surpass your imagination. While you wait, unseen opportunities, coincidences, and arrangements are taking place that you cannot yet perceive. People, resources, and circumstances are being subtly guided into position so that when the time is right, your desire emerges fully supported, leaving no gaps, no struggles, and no compromise. What might have manifested prematurely could have been incomplete or temporary, but the deliberate timing ensures that the manifestation is perfect, lasting, and aligned with your highest good. To navigate delay successfully, trust the process, remain faithful, and continue to dwell in the feeling of the fulfilled desire. Understand that the unseen is always working, even when the senses report nothing. Delay is the universe's preparation, the careful alignment of every element necessary for your success. When the manifestation finally appears, it will not be partial or forced. It will be complete, harmonious, and exactly as you imagined. Delay is never denial. It is the perfect, invisible preparation that ensures life moves in your favor with precision, power, and grace. When you stay loyal to the end result, God moves mountains to meet you there. Loyalty to the end result is the unwavering inner commitment to the reality you desire. The steadfast refusal to let temporary appearances, obstacles, or doubts shake the certainty that what you have imagined is already accomplished. It is not enough to wish, hope, or even feel inspired occasionally. True manifestation requires consistent fidelity to the vision, a dedication that outlasts setbacks, delays, and the seeming contradictions of the outer world. When you remain loyal in this way, you are no longer a passive observer of life. You become an active participant in the orchestration of your reality. The universe cannot help but respond, for loyalty is the signal that activates divine cooperation, the magnetic force that draws circumstances, people, and opportunities into perfect alignment with your inner state. Loyalty to the end result begins within. It is a decision to dwell in the feeling of the fulfilled desire, to imagine the outcome vividly, and to accept it as fact, regardless of what the senses report. The outer world is rarely the proof of fulfillment. It is the effect of what has been established internally. Mountains of doubt, opposition, or difficulty may appear, yet they are powerless against the steadfastness of inner loyalty. Each moment that you resist the temptation to waver, to doubt, or to surrender, you are strengthening the invisible current that carries your desire into manifestation. This inner constancy is what separates fleeting wishes from real, tangible outcomes. The universe responds not to the intensity of effort, but to the persistence of faith, the loyalty to the vision that refuses to yield under pressure. When you stay loyal to the end result, life begins to conspire on your behalf. Doors open where they seemed locked. Resources appear where scarcity was evident, and solutions present themselves where problems seemed insurmountable. Mountains shift quietly, imperceptibly, yet powerfully, to clear the path for your desire to manifest. This is the divine intelligence at work, responding to the signal of your unwavering loyalty. It is not about forcing circumstances or controlling outcomes. It is about maintaining your inner state, allowing the outer world to align itself with the reality you have embraced. The greater your loyalty, the more extraordinary the response. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable because you have refused to let temporary appearances dictate your conviction. Loyalty also strengthens your resilience. Life's challenges will test the firmness of your belief, but each trial is an opportunity to deepen your fidelity to the end result. As long as you remain aligned, holding the feeling of fulfillment, the universe continues to orchestrate conditions in your favor. Mountains do not resist forever. They move for those who do not move from their inner certainty. Your role is to remain steadfast, to imagine, to feel, and to accept, while life arranges the circumstances to support your vision. Staying loyal to the end result is the key that unlocks extraordinary manifestations. It is the inner authority that commands the outer world, the unwavering faith that compels divine movement, and the steadfast devotion that ensures every obstacle, delay, and challenge is transformed into a stepping stone toward fulfillment. God moves mountains for those who remain loyal. For loyalty is the signal that your desire is ready to be received, and nothing can stand in the way of a mind and heart fully aligned with its truth.